Okay, hi, welcome, this is Lerato. Thank you so much for making time to chat with me. I feel like we've already just done a few conversations that are so close to my heart. But maybe before we move on with this conversation, just to give an overview of what we're going to do, we want to review some of the topics that we've done for Culture Shock, but we just want to know you a little bit better. Would you be so kind to introduce yourself? Just tell us something about yourself that you would like us to know.
My name is Lerato Motau. I am a textile fiber artist, brought and grew up in Soweto. I've been working throughout my life doing art. It's 30 years of me making art as an artist. How I came to become an artist, I was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 16. And my mom, as a parent, you become worried, what's my child going to be? And she found a school in Saxonwold called Johannesburg Art Foundation. And she enrolled me on that year that I was diagnosed. So I studied part-time, so I would go, I think, thrice in a week. And then the following year, I did full-time. So I have a diploma in visual arts and teaching. And I also have an NQF 5 in financial and management skills of how to run your own business as a crafter or an artist. How I moved into, because when I was in school, I majored in painting. But a few years down the line, the skill that I've learned from primary, and that helped me through primary and also going into high school, it was needlework. So now most of my work, it has hand embroidery. That is a skill that I've learned from primary. And it helps me to navigate and heal myself as an artist as well. Because when I stitch, it's more of like I'm meditating. And when the the wool or the yarn or different things that I've put in the work become texture, it's like I'm closing in all the negative things that I went through when I was a student. And also growing up, feeling that this I cannot do, but I am at the point of saying everything is possible. I can do anything.
I can imagine. I mean, that skill, I also did needlework in primary. I never thought I could do anything other than make clothes, but you make art out of needlework.
Mm.
I have to be honest, I've never experienced an artist that does your work. I've seen people use paint on fabrics, or and mix maybe different textures, but not needlework. I think it's unique and it is beautiful. I saw your work and I think I'm going to share with more people that article because it really it is amazing. Anyway, but thank you so much for introducing yourself. So now back to Culture Shock. I mean, wow, when we do this series, I always have something in mind that I want us to get out of the series. But each time it unfolds, it brings out many layers that are so different that take me to places that I never thought it would take. So from your side, what is it that has stood out for you, maybe in the last couple of sessions we've had? I think we've had 6. Which one stood out for you and why?
The one it's who's doctor? The one that rural academic rural.
Yes, yes, rural. Okay, maybe for someone who hasn't listened to all the sessions, there was a session from rural to academic excellence by Dr. Sandile Mtimkhulu. Oh, wow. So that one stood out for you. Why?
When I was listening to his story, I related in terms of me being dyslexic and him being from a rural place, English, it's not our first language.
Yeah.
And when you go to university, English, it's what, you know, it's the main teaching of so, and when he told his story that he was an A student, from being an A student, you feel like, yo, I cannot understand anything. You know, for him being so courageous to say, okay, I would have to do something about this. I cannot, let myself down and let everybody who voted for you to say you can make it work for him. It stood out so much for me that I resonated with it to say, it's not just a student, it's not just people who have learning barriers that we go through these things, ups and downs in terms of education and also in terms of culture, because sometimes it's not just education, it's culture that makes it difficult for us to navigate and to go further in what we want to do.
I can so relate to what you are saying. And I mean, language is a huge barrier, especially when you haven't been at a school where English was a language of instruction. And imagine now I'm thinking you are pursuing these, all these qualifications that you spoke about with, and you are diagnosed with dyslexia. I mean, how did you navigate? I mean, what is it that Dr. Sandile shared that reminded you of how you overcame your own learning challenges?
With me, remember when I was at school, we had, like, especially high school level, you have English, Afrikaans, and Vernac. So these are languages, all three of them. I
Yeah.
still had to read, I still have to write. So when he told his story, I said, it took me back to say I had these three languages that even now I cannot read my Setswana properly. I cannot spell it, but I can speak it. I had to, learn Afrikaans, that is another language. I still have to learn English and pass all these three subjects. I said to myself, if there was a time that one would be able to speak out and say, can I do it orally? It was going to be easier for me to navigate my primary and high school life. Because when I was sharing with my kids growing up, my first daughter, like teaching her how to read, I said, but this is not hard, Um, immediately when you know the sounds, the side words, it becomes easier for you to read. But because I missed out that gap of understanding the sounds, the sign, and now because I'm teaching them, it was easier. And I said to them, if I was given a chance to go back to primary school, I think I'll be an A student. Just being me answering all these questions orally, and going to high school, I can make it, I can do it. So his story really resonated to me to say, even if we have this barrier of language, there's a way where we can overcome ourselves and get. I always say with dyslexia, we become problem solvers. So this, as I was saying to you earlier on, it's easier for me to go on Zoom and wait for the host to open it than for me to go when it's already on, because it becomes not a tedious, but I feel that I'm going to be late and something will happen with technology. So it's better that I become earlier. And that's another thing that we like, even if I have a meeting, I would say, okay, I'm going to go 2 hours early so that even if the navigator gives me problems, or anything technologically can happen, I still have time to be there earlier. So even with what he was sharing, it was like, oh, okay. With yourself, you need to give yourself time and understanding, and don't be, because at the end, by not speaking and keeping it to yourself, you'll end up saying, I'm just going to leave because I cannot make it, I cannot cope. So these stories also, it also helped me. I shared it with my daughter to say, you know, Tlhatse, this one, it was not that he had a learning barrier, but because of language and also culture shock, because when you meet all these people that are coming from private school, Model C, and you're coming from the rural, you're saying, oh, I can't, this is not for me. But he did not say that. He said, I'm part of this and I'm going to make it.
I like that so much. You know what I'm finding is that although it was a different challenge for you, you gained another skill just so that you're adapting to, you know, to a different way of learning. You're saying you had to give yourself time. Even now, you prepare for a meeting and you come a few minutes early so that you give yourself enough time to actually adapt to that space, make sure there are no glitches. It's a different skill altogether. And it's a skill perhaps you wouldn't have paid attention to hadn't you experienced the challenge that you had faced. I absolutely love this. So intentional adaptation involves us acquiring other skills that are useful for life. I'm thinking now, you've just highlighted the fact that you're able to bring others along. You're able to sit with your daughter and say, hey, actually, this thing is doable. And perhaps even another skill you will pass on is the diligence to be punctual, you know? And it came because you were intentional about being self-aware. What are your struggles, and learning how to adapt to a way that would suit you better, that would work for you. I love that so much. So I'm a bit sneaky because I'm gonna take what I wrote from your article and ask you a little bit on it. You love helping people, parents and children that are struggling with the same condition as yours. How are you bringing them along? What are some of the things that you do?
The first thing is to share this, my story. I think people relate to people that they see on day-to-day basis. Remember when they told my mom that I was dyslexic, and the psychologist came from the UK, so he spoke with like your Richard Branson, he spoke about Tom Cruise, and I said to my mom, it's people that I don't know. If there was someone in our community that I could say, okay, this is Lerato, and I would relate to that type of person. And also, I would be able to ask more questions because after they told me, I said to my mom, I don't think I would want to have kids because they say it's hereditary. So I don't want my kids to be going what I went through, because even now, with this education system that we have, it takes a child 3 to 4 years to be placed in a school. And if you don't have a sort of like money to go the private route, go to your own educational psychologist and wait for the school to place your child in a proper school, 4 years, it means if the child was being diagnosed around grade 2, so it will mean half of his primary or her primary life, that child will be miserable. By the time you get placed, you still don't understand what's happening. And some parents, they don't even tell their kids that what is dyslexia. They don't open up. It's like they feel that it's, I remember Nami, my mom's friend, Omunute, I think your child needs to hamba your twasa for her to understand. And now when I think about such, it's even happening now when you speak to people. No, the child has ancestral whatever that needs to be done, and then he or she be fine. So I said, it is not just people not talking about it, but I take it one-on-one, ask you, how do you feel as a parent? To make you comfortable, that you could easily share, to say, some parents would say, I'm shattered. I feel that my child won't have a future. And I said, but the schools helps, because even with different schools that we have, if they see that your child cannot even make it to matric, they would take them to these so-called, at our time, we would call them not technicons, where you used to use your hands,
Yeah, it was
building,
technical
and
colleges. Yes,
yes,
yes.
technical colleges. Yes, I said, being a chef, those type of skills that they recommend, that, oh, take your child to this school. Don't feel that it's a skill that won't pay. You don't know what glory that your child brings into your life, and also to learn so much, that as you are maybe a doctor, because people who are who have studied a lot, they say, but now why am I a doctor? And then they're saying, it's like, she's got dyslexia, or he cannot read, he cannot write, but I'm a doctor. I said, it does not go with statures. You are reading, we are not reading. It's an hereditary thing, maybe from your grandparents. You don't know the way people with dyslexia, but because we don't speak about it, and it's not easy, especially if you are learned, to say my child is struggling. And also, the saddest part, I always say, you keep it in mind that it can also affect them mentally, because you also become isolated. There was a time that I isolated myself, being around people, to say they would laugh at me. When I go to a place that I know, today they would ask to say, maybe in church, they would say, Lerato, read. I would stay away to such in such places, that at any time they can say, whoever reads. And also it becomes an anxiety thing, that when you are in those places, you always anxious. And it grew and grew, and you find yourself that now sometimes you're becoming also depressed, because you're always anxious to say, oh, I have to read. They'll call me out to read in public. They'll call me out to say these things, and I don't know. So that's what I always say to them, support them fully.
I love how you are describing that experience. When you're bringing people along, you are aware, you've lived it, you know some of the challenges that they face, you know some of the struggles that they're gonna face. I, you mentioning reading out loud. Oh man, I was in schools without even checking if the eyesight of the child is appropriate, it's working fine. Without checking all of these things, children are expected to just, adapt as the rest of the children.
Mm-hmm,
And I can
mm-hmm.
imagine, I remember, I think my experience I think I was probably in grade 3, and I couldn't read. Do you know how traumatized that experience was? And I can even still remember the word that I was trying to read, and it wasn't coming out. I could see the word, but it wasn't coming out in my mouth. And I didn't know what to do. So I love what you are doing, because I think parents do not know what to do. Especially you mentioned about if someone is a doctor, And now all of a sudden they have a child with all the struggles and they have never struggled. They can't relate. They can't relate. They're thinking perhaps there's something, wrong with the child. But the child is as normal as they can be. Yes, I love what you are doing. Do you have anything else you want to add? I think from just my notes and what I wanted to hear from you concerning culture shock, I'm all good. I'm excited. We still have one more session this week, the dynamics. Now, I mean, it's called Mastering the Workplace Dynamics, and Dr. John Kamati is going to take us through that. Do you have anything that is in your heart that you want to share?
Yeah, and also traveling international. Last
Oh,
year was
yes.
before that, um, when Prince Charles came to South Africa, we were given an opportunity for him to come and meet us, crafters, artists. We're at Cape Town, and so they told us that we don't have to reach out our hands before they reach out their hands. So, everybody was like nervous when he came to your store and talking to you. It's like you say, am I saying the right things? And remember these people, they even have bodyguards around them. So you're scared maybe you'll do something or maybe moving. We were all sweating. I don't want to lie. After when he left, we were like, this is not easy. This is not easy. So last year I got a chance to go to Hong Kong, and I was so like overwhelmed with I think being around this place, and also first time international trip. My work, it's been bought all over the world. It has traveled different exhibitions that I was not part of it. So I think overwhelmed and happiness. So I started crying, and then I went outside, just to and this security guy comes to me, hey, CCTV view, see you. No, allowed to stand here. And I'm trying to explain to him, no, I'm still calming myself down. I'm not well in terms of, no, inside. So, I think if maybe I knew how to speak, it was going to be easier to explain to him, no, I understand we are not allowed to stand here, but I'm feeling this way. So also with him, barrier of language says, he did not want to take what I'm saying, even if using stand language, showing him that, no, I'm big, says, inside. So, and it's all these small things that we think they are not, we overlook at them. But I think we need to prepare when you go to another country. How do they handle themselves? How do they eat? We all have these other, how do they greet, when you see, because there I felt that some of them, they were so cold. And here in South Africa, when we have a guest, everybody will be asking, how are you doing? How's your day? And then some of them were very cold. So I said, it's not easy traveling. It is not.
I think with traveling, there's just a whole lot of responsibility that we don't pay attention to because we're so used to be home and we're thinking everything is as it's here. We're thinking people are the same. We're thinking people, eat the same thing. But when you actually meet the world out there, it's different. And I guess as leaders, we have to be open to learning. Imagine if you had taken maybe a month of just learning the culture there before you actually got there. It would have made your experience perhaps much more enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But oh man, I'm so touched by your experience. You're saying your work preceded you even going to the world. You will run exhibitions without you being there.
Yes.
Wow, that's so cool.
Mm.
That's so cool. That's so nice. Thank you so much. I think we can stop our conversation here, but you know what? I am so keen to hear more from you, to hear more stories, your experiences, and I can't wait for when I'm in Joburg, and it so happens that you are having an exhibition, that I would come and enjoy your work because I can see that you tell a story that like nobody
Mm.
else. And it's beautiful. I saw the themes from that articles that you write about. When I see themes, I go crazy because already in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, what is the story that she's telling with this one? I want to hear it. I want to experience it. And I so appreciate you for just doing that, you know? It's amazing.
No,
Thank you very much.
also with you starting up these community, sessions, and also we are also be able to invite people and we share
Yeah.
these videos. I think in years to come, everybody will be at a place that they can find comfort and understanding that I was not alone in this
Yeah.
journey. Lots of people went through this
Yeah.
because when I don't want to lie, when people share their own testimonies of how they moved from here to there. I remember you spoke about some people that the church or the community would clap in to put money for them to get to university. Only when they got there, they found, oh, I can't take it. And there's no support that they can go back to say, it is not easy. Because people, they expect to, you're an A student, you can manage yourself throughout the whole experience of being in university. It's not just that. When I told you about my daughter's story, that second year she was in a res where it was ladies only. The following year it's a chorus. She could not be relaxed. She would call me around 1 o'clock. Mama, the boys are moving around our passages at night. It was not easy. It's a culture shock for her to be in that space. And when I tried to explain to the university, they say, no, this is how we do it. Not every child. So imagine if I was not a parent who's there for my kid. It means she was going to suffer for the whole year. Mentally, she got sick. She even got admitted because she could not cope. She could not cope.
Sometimes we don't realize how much each person struggles in some way. Imagine if you just really just said, hey, you know, deal with it. Other kids are not getting sick, deal with it. But you were present, you were close enough to hear her, that it doesn't matter if other kids are okay with it. If she's not okay with it, then she needs help.
Yeah.
I always feel bad for parents that are not able to be present for their kids when they go to university. Students go through the most. And others are working, others are living in other countries, others are far. But those that can be present, they need to be present because university is not easy.
No, it's not. It's
It's
not.
not easy, even for the wisest child, the smartest
Yeah,
child.
it's
Yeah.
not. It's funny how my youngest, she says, 2026, don't think you'll be coming with me like you came with my sister. I'll see myself. I'll get okay. No, I'm gonna give you that space. You'll see yourself up. But in few months or in few weeks, you'll be calling to say,
Yeah.
Mama,
And sometimes they do brave it through, and it's okay. But they
Yeah,
need to know that if they call, someone is going to respond and someone is going to pay attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
The saddest part is that she would say even to me, my peers, Mama, they are saying, oh, I'm over exaggerating this. I must be happy that I have a rest. Some kids, they don't even have a rest. Okay, but you need to be comfortable in that rest. There's no use of you being in a rest, but you're not relaxed. How are you going to cope academically if your mind is forever thinking, overthinking? You don't sleep comfortably because you don't know if the boys would come into your rooms, such things.
It is scary. People don't realize that we're not the same. We're not coming from different, from the same backgrounds. If you're not used to that behavior, you're not used to that behavior. And it's even, I mean, you're saying 1 a.m. and the boys are up and down, and you're thinking, are they coming from the library? Where are they coming from? Are they not drunk? Are they
They
not
were
coming
drunk.
from? So
Her worry was that, Mama, they even drunk. If maybe we go, like, if I could go open and then go and report them to the security or to ever, you'll never know what happened. They even, that's what it made me laugh. There was this sort of like if you like someone, and then they have a sort of a talk show that they can make you meet. And then they invited her to meet this guy. This guy saw him in the shuttle. And then, in the video, I can see that, my child was like mad. No, 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 no. I won't go out with you. And please don't add this thing. I don't want to be part of it.
Can you believe? Oh, shame, man. She went through the most. Oh, she went through the most, but we thank God that she made it, and she can learn, from her experience and bring others along, those
Yes.
first year students who would not feel the courage to talk about their struggles, who would think they need to hide things and deal with their things in isolation. So this is so good. Thank you so much. I want us to wrap up nicely our conversation. Do you have any message, any special message for us in the community that you want to share?
Thank you for being so authentic with telling us and sharing your stories. And those who wrote these beautiful books, please turn them into audios.
Yes. Yes, that's a good advice.
So that we can also listen. Those we cannot read fully, we can also have this beautiful audio book that we can listen to and share with our neighbors and our community around. It's so nice that I can share these stories with my kids, people from church. I even say, send them the links of some of the videos that I also missed out, because throughout August, I had a tight month because of it's Women's Month. So all these other exhibitions and other things that I had to attend as a female artist. And so thank you so much. And thank you for always being, keeping us in check. And your Monday messages, they help us to go through the week, navigate the week and prepare for another week again, to say on Monday, I'm going to be receiving this white, border message with this encouragement. So thank you so much. Keep them,
It is such a
coming.
pleasure.
Keep them coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. I'm glad that you are finding them useful. Thank you so much. I'm now going to stop the recording.